A Spider-Man show so ambitious, it was doomed from the start. A forgotten adventure, a shocking cliffhanger, and a mystery that still haunts fans to this day. What really happened to Spider-Man Unlimited? Let's find out. Spider-Man has been reimagined countless times. Some versions became legendary, others faded into obscurity. But there's one adaptation that most fans either missed entirely or barely remember. Spider-Man Unlimited. This wasn't your typical web-slinging adventure. Instead of battling villains in New York, Peter Parker was stranded in a bizarre, dystopian world ruled by savage beastmen and a ruthless dictator. It was daring, experimental, and decades ahead of its time. Yet despite its bold vision and gripping storytelling, Spider-Man Unlimited was abruptly canceled after just 13 episodes, leaving fans with one of the most infuriating cliffhangers in superhero animation history. So what really happened? Why was the show cut short so suddenly? And what was the full story, beginning to end? In this video, we're uncovering the rise and fall of Spider-Man Unlimited, the behind-the-scenes struggles, the ambitious plans that never saw the light of day, and the untold story of a show that deserved so much more. Whether you're a lifelong Spidey fan or just hearing about this for the first time, buckle up, because this is one Spider-Man story you won't believe. Let's swing into it. To understand how Spider-Man Unlimited became one of the most unusual and overlooked chapters in Spidey's history, we need to go back to the late 1990s, a golden age for superhero animation. Shows like Batman, the animated series, X-Men, the animated series, and Superman. The animated series were pushing storytelling and animation to new heights. Meanwhile, Spider-Man, the animated series, 1994 to 1998, had just wrapped up, leaving fans with one of the most beloved adaptations of the web-slinger ever made. Marvel and Fox Kids wanted to keep the momentum going. The original plan? A direct sequel to Spider-Man, the animated series, featuring classic villains like Green Goblin and Dr. Octopus. But then, out of nowhere, everything changed. Sony had just secured the film rights to Spider-Man and was developing a live-action movie. As a result, Marvel's animation team was slapped with strict limitations on which characters and storylines they could use. Their original vision for a continuation of the 1994 series was scrapped. With their hands tied, the creative team had to take a bold new approach. Instead of another classic Spider-Man adventure set in New York, they sent Peter Parker somewhere completely unexpected, an alternate, dystopian version of Earth ruled by half-human, half-animal hybrids known as the Bestials. This strange world called Counter-Earth was loosely inspired by obscure Marvel comics featuring the High Evolutionary, a villain obsessed with genetic manipulation. To match the futuristic setting, Spider-Man got a radical redesign. Gone was his iconic red and blue suit. Instead, he wore an advanced nanotechnology suit, capable of generating web-based weapons, turning invisible, and even allowing him to glide. It was a massive departure from the traditional Spider-Man formula, but the creators hoped this new, sci-fi-driven concept would make the show stand out. But breaking the mold doesn't always guarantee success. Unlike Batman, the animated series, which had the financial backing of Warner Brothers, Spider-Man Unlimited was produced by Saban Entertainment, the same studio behind Power Rangers. That meant the show was working with a significantly smaller budget. The effects were obvious. Instead of the fluid animation quality seen in other superhero shows, Spider-Man Unlimited had to rely on cost-cutting techniques like reused frames, limited motion, and simplified backgrounds. While the art direction was creative, the animation quality never quite lived up to the ambition of its premise. But the real problem? Fox Kids' disastrous scheduling choices. Spider-Man Unlimited premiered in October 1999, but it was buried in a terrible time slot, forced to compete against Pokémon and Digimon, two of the biggest animated franchises of the era. The show struggled to find an audience and never had a fair chance to succeed. Originally planned for 26 episodes, Spider-Man Unlimited was canceled after just 13 due to low ratings. The worst part? It ended on a massive cliffhanger. Peter Parker was still stranded on Counter-Earth, his mission incomplete, and fans were left wondering what could have been. Over time, the show developed a small but passionate cult following. Many fans appreciate its darker tone, ambitious storytelling, and unique setting. While it never reached the heights of other Spider-Man adaptations, it remains one of the most daring and unconventional takes on the character ever attempted. A show that tried to push Spider-Man into uncharted territory, only to be forgotten. But now it's time to bring it back into the spotlight. Did Spider-Man Unlimited deserve better? Should it have gotten a second chance? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and if you enjoy deep dives like this, don't forget to like and subscribe for more forgotten superhero stories. All right, Spidey fans, let's be real. We all love a good Spider-Man story, right? Swinging through New York, fighting classic villains, dodging rent payments. It's all part of the experience. But what if I told you there was a Spider-Man show where Peter Parker wasn't in New York at all? Instead, he was trapped on a dystopian planet ruled by beast people, rocking a high-tech suit and fighting a war on two fronts? Yeah. Welcome to Spider-Man Unlimited. The show kicks off with an insane space mission. John Jameson, yes, J. Jonah Jameson's astronaut son, is about to lead a shuttle to counter-Earth, a mysterious planet on the other side of the sun. But just as things are going smoothly, boom, enter Venom and Carnage, hijacking the shuttle mid-flight. Why? Good question. They've got a secret plan, and spoiler alert, it's very bad news. Our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man jumps in to stop them, but plot twist, he fails. The shuttle with Jameson inside is lost in space, and in true J. Jonah Jameson fashion, the Daily Bugle immediately blames Spider-Man for the disaster. Now let me ask you, if you were Peter Parker, what would you do? Stay in New York and deal with the PR nightmare? Or steal a spaceship and go full interstellar? Yeah, Peter chooses the second option. Armed with a brand new nanotech suit, because why not? Spidey sneaks onto a rescue shuttle, blasts off into space, and crash lands on Counter-Earth, where things go from bad to what the actual hell is happening. Instead of friendly aliens or a cool utopia, Spider-Man finds himself in a world straight out of a dystopian sci-fi novel. Counter-Earth is ruled by the High Evolutionary, a mad scientist with a god complex who decided that regular humans? Nah. Instead, he created bestials, half-human, half-animal hybrids who run the planet like a totalitarian nightmare. Meanwhile, actual humans? Yeah, they're treated like garbage. Sounds bad, right? Well, it gets worse. Spider-Man quickly realizes that John Jameson is missing. Venom and Carnage are lurking around with some very sketchy plans and, oh yeah, he has no way to get home. So what's a web-slinger to do? Find allies. Spidey stumbles upon a small underground resistance of humans fighting against the High Evolutionary's rule. Among them is Naoko Yamada-Jones, a no-nonsense doctor who gives Peter a place to stay, even though she has no clue he's Spider-Man. She also has a young son, Shane, who immediately adopts Peter as his cool new older brother. Then there's John Jameson, who finally shows up, but not as the guy Peter remembers. Turns out, the High Evolutionary experimented on him, and now he's got werewolf-like abilities. Yep, John is now Man-Wolf. Creative name, right? Despite his new persona, he fights alongside Spider-Man and the Resistance. So to recap, Spider-Man is stranded on a nightmare planet. Humans are second-class citizens. His only allies are a doctor, her kid, and a werewolf astronaut. Venom and Carnage are up to something really bad. Sounds like a solid Tuesday. Now let's talk about the guy in charge of this mess, the High Evolutionary. Imagine a mad scientist who looked at evolution and said, yeah, I can do better. He's built an empire where bestials rule and humans barely survive. And to enforce his dictatorship, he has the Knights of Wundagore, his personal squad of terrifying mutant warriors, Lord Tiger, a lion-headed powerhouse who really enjoys his job, Lady Ursula, a bear-like brute who could probably break Spider-Man in half, Sir Ram, a genius strategist, and yes, he's literally a ram, Sir Python, a snake assassin who is every bit as sneaky as his name suggests. So yeah, taking down this regime, not going to be easy. If the High Evolutionary wasn't bad enough, Venom and Carnage are busy with their own horror show. Their master plan? Infect the entire planet with symbiotes and create a hive mind called the Synoptic. Imagine a world where everyone is under their control, thinking as one, completely consumed by the symbiote plague. Yeah, not great. So now Peter has two massive problems. Fight a dictator and free Counter-Earth from his rule. Stop Venom and Carnage from turning everyone into symbiote puppets. Oh, and did I mention he has no backup? No Avengers? No Fantastic Four? Not even Daredevil to yell at him about his bad life choices. He's completely alone. As the episodes go on, Spider-Man starts making progress. He helps the Resistance, sabotages the High Evolutionaries' plans, and even slows down Venom and Carnage's growing symbiote army. The stakes keep rising. The battles get more intense. It feels like everything is leading up to something huge. And then, the show ends. Seriously, right as things are reaching their peak, the series just stops. The final episode, Destiny Unleashed, leaves us with two massive conflicts still unresolved. The Resistance is gearing up for its biggest fight yet. The synoptic threat is closer than ever. Spider-Man is caught between two impossible choices. Defeat the High Evolutionary and free Counter-Earth. Stop Venom and Carnage before the entire planet is consumed. And then, cut to black. Why? Because Spider-Man Unlimited was canceled after just 13 episodes. It was originally planned for 26, but poor ratings, bad scheduling, and network decisions killed it before it could finish its story. And just like that, Spider-Man's mission? Unfinished. For years, fans have wondered how Spider-Man Unlimited would have ended. Would Peter have saved Counter-Earth? Would he have ever made it back home? Would J. Jonah Jameson still have found a way to blame him for literally everything? We may never know. But what do you think? Did this show deserve better? Should Marvel bring it back? And most importantly, if you were stuck on Counter-Earth, would you fight the bestials or just find a quiet corner and cry? No shame. I'd probably do both. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, because trust me, there are so many weird Spidey stories left to uncover. Spider-Man is used to dealing with some pretty insane situations, evil clones, time travel, even a giant alien symbiote war. But nothing could have prepared him for the madness of Spider-Man Unlimited. Imagine being stuck on a planet ruled by mutant animal overlords, fighting a dictator with a god complex, and trying to stop two of your worst enemies from taking over the entire world. Oh, and you have zero backup. Sounds fun, right? Let's break down the main characters of Spider-Man Unlimited, the wild roles they play, and why this cast makes the show so unforgettable. Of course, at the heart of everything is our favorite wall crawler, Peter Parker. But this isn't the Spidey we're used to. No friendly neighborhood, no Aunt May, no MJ, just Peter, alone, stranded on Counter-Earth, and stuck in the middle of a war he did not sign up for. He rocks a high-tech nanotech suit, courtesy of Reed Richards, with some insane upgrades. Cloaking tech. Yup, Spider-Man can go invisible. Web-based weapons, because normal webs aren't cool enough. Gliding capabilities, soaring through the air like Batman. He has no backup, no Avengers, no Fantastic Four, just him and his bad luck. He's juggling two major threats, the High Evolutionary's bestial dictatorship and Venom and Carnage's symbiote apocalypse. Still, even stuck on an alien world, Peter is Peter. He's still quipping, still throwing himself into danger, and still refusing to give up. If anyone can survive Counter-Earth, it's this guy. But be honest, if you were stuck on this nightmare planet, would you fight back like Spidey or just find a cave to hide in? No judgment. The main villain of Spider-Man Unlimited, the High Evolutionary, is what happens when a mad scientist decides that regular evolution just isn't good enough. He's a genetic genius who has turned animals into bestials, humanoid creatures who now rule over humans. He sees humans as inferior, treating them like pests to be controlled or wiped out. He created the Knights of Wundagore, a squad of elite warriors who enforce his rule. He's not a hands-on villain. He lets his minions do the dirty work, but his influence is everywhere. Basically, imagine if Dr. Moreau and Darth Vader had a baby, and you get this guy. If you had to pick, would you rather live under his rule or take your chances in the Resistance? John Jameson, yes, that Jameson, J. Jonah's son, was supposed to be leading a peaceful space mission. Instead, he crash-landed on Counter-Earth and ended up becoming a werewolf. Captured by the High Evolutionary, John was experimented on and transformed into Manwolf. Unlike other versions of Manwolf, he keeps his mind intact, meaning he's a valuable asset to the human resistance. He's a leader and fighter, but he and Spidey don't always see eye to eye. Basically, he went from astronaut to sci-fi werewolf freedom fighter. Talk about a career shift. Naoko Yamada-Jones is a human doctor trying to help those suffering under the High Evolutionary's rule. Her role in the story: she unknowingly becomes Peter Parker's landlord, giving him a place to stay when he's not being Spider-Man. She's tough, no nonsense, and has zero patience for reckless behavior. Her son Shane quickly bonds with Peter, treating him like the older brother he never had. Honestly, if anyone deserves a break in this series, it's Naoko. She's dealing with raising a kid and unknowingly housing a superhero. If you had a mystery tenant, how long do you think it would take before you realized he was Spider-Man? Normally, Venom and Carnage are just terrifying monsters with a grudge against Spider-Man. But in Spider-Man Unlimited, they take things to a whole new level. Their master plan? They're spreading the Synoptic, a symbiote hive mind designed to infect all life on Counter-Earth. Unlike previous versions, Venom and Carnage are fully merged with their symbiotes. Their human hosts, Eddie Brock and Cletus Cassidy, barely show up. They're more monstrous than ever, able to shapeshift, ooze through cracks, and attack in ways we've never seen before. Basically, they want to turn everyone into symbiote zombies. You know, just a casual world-ending event. No big deal. Would you rather fight them or try to hide and hope they don't find you? If the High Evolutionary is the Emperor, then these guys are his Sith Lords. The Knights of Wundagore are the scariest bestials around, and each one is a serious threat to Spider-Man. Meet the worst of the worst. Lord Tiger, a lion warrior with insane strength. Lady Ursula, a bear brute who loves breaking things. Sir Ram, a goat-like scientist who's almost as smart as he is creepy. Sir Python, a snake assassin who is way too good at sneaking around. Would you rather take on one of them or deal with Venom and Carnage? Yeah, there's no good choice here. Spider-Man Unlimited might have been short-lived, but its cast is unforgettable. Every character, from Spidey to the High Evolutionary to the Resistance Fighters, plays a crucial role in making Counter-Earth feel alive. But now I have a question for you. Which character do you think is the most dangerous? If you were stuck on Counter-Earth, which side would you be on? And be honest, how long do you think you would survive? Let's break down the episodes and story arcs that made this series unforgettable. Have you ever watched Spider-Man Unlimited? And did you know it was kind of a semi-sequel to the 90s Spider-Man cartoon? No? Well, buckle up because this is going to be a wild ride. Episodes 1 and 2. What happens? John Jameson, son of the ever-angry J. Jonah Jameson, leads a NASA mission to Counter-Earth. But guess what? Venom and Carnage hijack the shuttle. Spider-Man tries to stop them and fails miserably. Ouch. Naturally, everyone blames Spider-Man because that's just how Peter Parker's life works. So what does he do? Steals a shuttle, like any responsible superhero, and follows them to Counter-Earth. What does he find? A dystopian world ruled by bestials, think humanoid animals with serious god complexes. Humans are treated like second-class citizens. Venom and Carnage are up to something big, and it's not good. How long would you survive on Counter-Earth? Drop your answer in the comments. Episode 3. Venom and Carnage finally reveal their creepy plan. They're infecting Counter-Earth's population with symbiote spores. Their goal? A massive hive mind called the Synoptic, which will control everyone. Spidey? He's basically trapped in a horror movie, fighting off mind-controlled humans. Not fun. Episode 4. Spider-Man finds John Jameson again, but, there's a slight problem. John has transformed into a werewolf, aka Manwolf, thanks to the High Evolutionary's twisted experiments. He's still a good guy, but he's struggling to control the beast within. Side note, is it a rule that all of Spidey's friends eventually turn into monsters? Lizard, Manwolf, Harry Osborn? Who's next? Aunt May as the Hulk? Episode 5. Meet X-51, a machine man who's tired of following orders. Unlike other robots, he develops free will and turns against the High Evolutionary. He joins the Resistance, questioning what it truly means to be alive. This episode is basically iRobot, but make it Spider-Man. Episode 6. The High Evolutionary isn't playing around anymore. He sends the Hunter, a ruthless, unstoppable tracker. This guy is basically a Terminator, but in bestial form. No emotions, just pure killer instinct. Spidey barely escapes, but now he knows the High Evolutionary is done messing around. What's scarier, the Hunter or your alarm clock at 6 a.m.? Episode 7. Counter-Earth has its own Vulture, but this time he's a hero fighting against the High Evolutionary. He and Spidey form a fragile alliance to take down a bestial-controlled factory. This is a turning point as Spider-Man starts earning more trust from the Resistance. Maybe he should try making fewer enemies back home too. Cough J. Jonah Jameson cough. Episode 8. John Jameson's transformation gets worse. He starts losing himself to the beast inside. The High Evolutionary manipulates him, offering a cure in exchange for betraying the Resistance. In the end, John stays loyal, but he's terrified he won't be able to control himself much longer. Exciting? Yes. Incoming tragedy? Also yes. Episode 9. Spidey finds a hidden symbiote nest. The Synoptic is almost ready to activate and enslave everyone. Time is running out, and Spider-Man still has no plan. Help. Episode 10. We learn more about Nyoko, Spidey's landlord and part-time doctor. Her husband mysteriously disappeared, which explains why she's so cautious about trusting people. She's starting to suspect Peter Parker is hiding something. Let's be real, if she just checked his room properly, she'd figure it out in 2 minutes. Episode 11. X-51 goes full rogue, becoming a massive threat to the High Evolutionary. The High Evolutionary orders his destruction. Spider-Man tries to save him, but X-51 sacrifices himself to protect the Resistance. R.I.P. X-51, you were a real one. Episode 12. John Jameson gets one last chance to be cured by the High Evolutionary, but he has to betray Spider-Man. He refuses, but the temptation nearly destroys him. Episode 13. And then, this happens. The Synoptic is moments away from enslaving everything. The Resistance prepares for an all-out war. The High Evolutionary's grip on power starts slipping. Spider-Man faces an impossible choice. Defeat the High Evolutionary? Stop the symbiote apocalypse? And just when you think, this is it? Canceled. Seriously? Who ends a show on a cliffhanger like this? We'll never know how Spider-Man Unlimited was supposed to end. Would Spidey have saved Counter-Earth? Would he have stopped Venom and Carnage in time? Would we ever get closure? Probably not. But that's the breakdown of the episodes. Let me know. Should Marvel bring this series back? Drop your thoughts in the comments. When Spider-Man Unlimited first aired in 1999, it was meant to be a fresh and exciting take on the web-slinger, offering a bold new setting and a high-stakes adventure. However, despite its ambitious storytelling and unique sci-fi elements, the show failed to find a large audience and was ultimately canceled after just 13 episodes. But why? What went wrong? And how has Spider-Man Unlimited been remembered over the years? When Spider-Man Unlimited premiered, it faced several major challenges that hurt its chances of success. One of the biggest reasons for the show's failure was bad scheduling. The series aired on Fox Kids in a Saturday morning slot. Unfortunately, it had to compete against Pokemon and Digimon, which were at their peak in 1999. Kids who might have watched Spider-Man Unlimited were already invested in the massive Pokemon craze, leading to low viewership numbers. Many Spider-Man fans expected a continuation of Spider-Man, the animated series, 1994, which had just ended a year earlier. However, Spider-Man Unlimited was not a direct sequel, and it introduced a completely new world and storyline. The decision to change Spider-Man's suit and relocate him to Counter-Earth confused some fans, making it feel too different from previous adaptations. While Spider-Man Unlimited had interesting character designs, its animation quality was limited compared to other shows at the time. The budget was lower than its predecessor, Spider-Man, the animated series which had smoother animation. Some action sequences featured reused frames and stiff movements, making the battles feel less dynamic. Originally planned for 26 episodes, Spider-Man Unlimited was abruptly canceled after 13 episodes, leaving major plot lines unresolved. The final episode ended on a massive cliffhanger, frustrating fans. Without a proper conclusion, it was hard for new audiences to invest in the story. These factors combined to make Spider-Man Unlimited one of the most overlooked Spider-Man shows, despite its unique premise and bold storytelling. While Spider-Man Unlimited struggled during its original run, it has since developed a cult following. Over the years, fans have revisited the show, appreciating aspects that were overlooked in 1999. Compared to other Spider-Man adaptations, Spider-Man Unlimited featured a dystopian setting that made it feel more like a sci-fi epic than a traditional superhero story. A more serious tone, dealing with themes of oppression, survival, and rebellion. A Spider-Man who was more isolated than ever before, forcing him to adapt. Many modern fans appreciate how the show dared to be different, even if it was ahead of its time. Even fans who didn't love the show admit that Spider-Man's new suit was one of the best alternate designs ever made. The nanotechnology-based suit with stealth and gliding abilities made Spidey feel like a high-tech warrior rather than just a street-level hero. Many elements of the Counter-Earth designs, from the bestials to the futuristic cityscapes, were visually striking, even with the animation limitations. Because Spider-Man Unlimited ended on a cliffhanger, fans have spent years theorizing what might have happened next. Would Spider-Man defeat the High Evolutionary and save Counter-Earth? Would he stop Venom and Carnage before the Synoptic took over? Would he ever return home to Mary Jane in New York? This unanswered mystery has kept discussions alive in Spider-Man fan communities, with many hoping that Marvel might one day revisit the story. Even though Spider-Man Unlimited was short-lived, elements from the show have popped up in other Spider-Man media over the years. Spider-Man games. The nanotech suit from Spider-Man Unlimited has appeared as an unlockable costume in various video games, including Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions, Spider-Man PS4/PS5, Spider-Man Edge of Time. With the rise of the Spider-Verse in comics and films, Spider-Man Unlimited has been reconsidered as an alternate universe rather than just a canceled show. Marvel's Spider-Verse comics have hinted at multiple different versions of Spider-Man, including Counter-Earth Spidey, with the success of animated Spider-Man projects like Spider-Man. Into the Spider-Verse, some fans have petitioned for a revival of Spider-Man Unlimited. While no official revival has been announced, the show's cult following continues to grow, keeping its legacy alive. Although Spider-Man Unlimited never got the chance to finish its story, it remains a unique and fascinating entry in Spider-Man history. It took bold creative risks, moving Spider-Man to an entirely new world. It introduced a fresh take on familiar characters like Venom, Carnage, and John Jameson. It ended with one of the biggest cliffhangers in superhero animation history, leaving fans wanting more. Over 2 decades later, Spider-Man Unlimited may not be as well known as Spider-Man, the animated series, but it has earned its place as a cult favorite. Whether or not we ever get a proper conclusion to the story, one thing is clear. This was a Spider-Man adventure unlike any other. Spider-Man Unlimited is one of the most unique and overlooked adaptations of Spider-Man ever made. While it may not have reached the same legendary status as Spider-Man, the animated series or the modern Spider-Verse films, it remains a fascinating experiment that dared to take the web slinger in a completely different direction. The show introduced fans to Counter-Earth, a dystopian world unlike anything seen in previous Spider-Man stories. Instead of battling familiar villains in New York, Peter Parker found himself trapped in a society ruled by genetically engineered bestials, with humanity struggling for survival. Adding to the chaos, Venom and Carnage were plotting their own sinister invasion, setting up a conflict that Spider-Man alone had to face. This bold and ambitious premise gave us a fresh setting that combined science fiction, dystopian themes, and superhero action. A brand new nanotech Spider-Man suit still beloved by fans today. A storyline filled with unanswered mysteries making its cliffhanger cancellation even more frustrating. Unfortunately, due to bad timing, poor scheduling, and network issues, Spider-Man Unlimited never got the chance to complete its story. Despite being planned for 26 episodes, it was canceled after just 13, leaving fans with no resolution to its major conflicts. Yet even with its short-lived run, the show has gained a dedicated cult following over the years. Fans continue to discuss its unfinished plot, imagine how the story might have ended, and even petition Marvel to revive it. The show's legacy lives on through Spider-Man video games, where his suit frequently appears as an unlockable skin, Spider-Verse connections, where Counter-Earth is considered part of the Marvel multiverse, fan theories and discussions, keeping the mystery of its unfinished story alive. Would Spider-Man Unlimited have succeeded if it had been released in a different era? Possibly. Today, dark and serialized superhero stories are more popular than ever, and Spider-Man Unlimited's unique premise might have been better appreciated in the age of streaming. At its core, Spider-Man Unlimited was a bold experiment. It may not have been perfect, but it was a Spider-Man story unlike any other, one that deserved a proper ending. Who knows? With the endless possibilities of the Spider-Verse, maybe one day we'll finally see how Peter Parker's adventure on Counter-Earth was meant to end. Until then, Spider-Man Unlimited remains one of the most intriguing lost chapters in the web-slinger's long history.